and welcome everyone to this presentation on some prepositions. The presentation is based on a question that Jesus has asked me, and the question is this. Let me share my screen with you. It was how to use within and without. Now, we are in the realm of prepositions, so I thought I would add a few of my own favorite prepositions into the mix, which is in, into, and to. So we're going to look at how to use these prepositions correctly and what some common mistakes are that we make with them. So we're going to look at within and in to begin with, because they often get confused with each other when we speak about a period of time. Within plus a period of time means inside a certain period of time. But in means after a certain period of time. For example, if it's 11 a.m., if it's 11 in the morning, and I say to you, I'll send you the link within the next 2 hours, you will receive the link sometime between now and 1 p.m. So sometime before 1 p.m. It may be 12 noon, it may be in 5 minutes. That's the period within which you will receive it. But if it's 11 o'clock, 11 in the morning, and I say to you, I'll send you the link in 2 hours, that is after 2 hours. So I'm planning to send you the link at 1 p.m. That is a very important distinction to make when you're talking about a period of time with these two prepositions. Now, we also use these two prepositions for a place. When we use them in the context of a place, they mean very much the same thing. They mean inside. But in usage, it's more common to use within with abstract places. For example, within the organization, within limits, or within the agreement. And better to use than in with concrete places, like in the building, in the box, in a town. So this is just a guideline. Sometimes you may hear in used with abstract places or within with concrete places, but for your own usage, if you are in doubt, think about that. Keep it to within when it's abstract and to in when it's concrete. So that's about within and in. Let's now look at without, because that was Jesus's question. He was contrasting within and without. Well, in actual fact, in modern English, within and without have no connection with each other. It looks as if without must be the opposite of within, but it isn't. Without is the opposite of with, and I think you all know that. For example, you would say, would you like your coffee with or without milk? So what is the opposite of within or in? The opposite of these two words is outside, because remember, in and within mean inside, so the opposite is outside. For example, within the organization and outside the organization. In the box, outside the box. Right, that's that. Now let's look at in and to. Again, very common mistake between these two prepositions I hear. Use in with a stationary verb. For example, stay in a hotel, or eat in the canteen, or jog in the park. Right? I know jog seems like a verb of movement, but you are thinking of where it's taking place. And then use to with a destination, like with a movement verb towards a destination. For example, walk to school, drive to work, fly to Miami. Actually, if you look at my hand gestures, it makes it pretty clear. We have in and to, right? So destination or place where something is happening. So that brings us to now to, for a destination, and into. Into combines the idea of movement towards, so the to, and the place where we end up in. We end up inside a place. So again, hand movements help here. So we had to, we had in, and now we have into. So that's really the idea, into. So for example, you have the pool and then you jump, it's the movement into the pool. You end up in the pool. For example, you can walk to a store, you're at the door of the store, and then you walk into a store. Or you can run to the lounge, you arrive at the lounge, and then you enter it, so you are running into the lounge. It brings the two ideas together. Now, sometimes this two is dropped, and you can hear things like get in the car. Again, we have this idea of get in the car or go in the garden. I'm just mentioning it so that if you hear these, you don't get confused. But she said, don't use in with the verb of movement. It is, again, native speakers, they sometimes take liberties, they get lazy. So it's just for you to know that that can happen, but I wouldn't recommend that you think about that. Just remember these hand movements again, to, in, and into, and keep it like strict like that. So that brings us to, maybe I've put these 4 prepositions in a little context for you. I'll read the sentences out. We went to my favorite restaurant the other night. Destination. As soon as we stepped into the restaurant, now it's the idea of being inside, I knew we had made the wrong choice. There wasn't a single free table in the whole restaurant, and we were told that a table could become free within the next 30 to 40 minutes. Okay, so that kind of brings all these prepositions together in one context. Right, then as I was preparing the lesson, I thought of a few other things that I often hear mistakes or confusions about. So one of them is the difference between been in and been to. The difference is, if you have been in a place, you're still there. If you have been to a place, you have visited the place and you have returned. Again, putting it in context will make it a bit more clear. For example, in a dialogue, someone says, where's Nikki? She's in Mexico, and she has been in Mexico for 5 weeks. She's still there. That's quite straightforward. But then in this conversation, have you been to Mexico? Obviously, you're here, so you're not in Mexico. Have you been to Mexico means have you visited Mexico? Have you been to that country and come back? And the answer is yes, I went to Mexico last year. So it has more the sense of going to, destination. Right? I hope that clarifies that tricky difference that I sometimes hear mistakes with. And then, yes, I remembered some common mistakes I hear from yourselves when we have lessons. So I've listed them here for you. For example, I often hear invest into something. It's invest in something. Then the other way, translate to, is translate into. There's a sense of movement from one thing into another. Very common mistake is a visit in, like we really enjoyed our visit in Thailand. It's never a visit in, for some reason, it's a visit to. Again, here there isn't much logic. These are verbs, expressions that take this particular preposition. And one thing with the word home, don't use to. Don't say go to home, just say go home. So these are some mistakes that happen because they're irregular things. They don't follow any particular logic. Now, then I thought of 2 verbs that can be even more confusing. So let's look at them. The mistake I often hear is change in something. Actually, you either change to or change into. There's a little difference. If you change to, you're replacing. So you're removing something and replacing it with something else. For example, the color changed to green. Let's say it was blue, and then blue went and green came. So that's change to, is a replacement. Whereas change into is a kind of transformation. For example, you're having a dream and the same dream changes into a nightmare. So be careful with this verb. And last but not least, we have the verb enter. I hear sometimes mistakes with enter and the preposition. I often hear entering. Two possibilities. If it's a concrete place, like the building or the office or the house, drop the preposition. Enter means go into, really. So just use enter without any preposition. They've entered the building, right? But if it's more an abstract idea, for example, an agreement, then it's better and more correct to say they've entered into an agreement. So it's the difference between, again, a concrete place and an abstract thing, idea, or place. Right? That's the end of the presentation. I hope it's given you some clarity on how to use these prepositions correctly. I hope you've enjoyed this lesson. For more on this topic, click here. Remember to also check out my complete online course, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching and happy studies!